In 1998, growable neurochips were first developed, and by the year 2028, neurochips took over the world. Advanced robots and eyes use them, but despite the advancements of technology that have turned the world into a much smaller place, people still cling on to the ideas of nationality and ethnicity. On March 5, 2029 in the artificial island of Newport City in Japan, Police Commissioner Aramaki is listening to the conversation of some powerful politicians while his soldiers stand ready for their next order. The politicians talk about trading slaves for silicon reserves in their country and laugh about how easy it is to get cheap labor when you can turn an entire country into their slaves. Aramaki is getting frustrated listening to these pompous bastards talking, and he asks what Team 2 is doing. He gets a reply that they have just evacuated all the people in the building, but they are not the only ones aiming to nab the politicians. A blue-haired girl plugs into the building system and overhears everything that the politicians as well as the police task force is saying. She scoffs at how stupid they are for letting AI encrypt their communication channels, because then everyone and their mamas can snoop in on them without any difficulty. Meanwhile, Aramaki orders his men to shut the power supply to the building and charge inside. As the lights go out and the building goes into emergency mode, the politician's guard tells him that the police special task force has cornered them. He then goes to the corner and pops his glasses to the side to get a clear view of the policemen around the corner before opening fire on them. The politician yells at him to stop firing and making things worse for him. When more policemen break into the room through the windows, they point their guns at the politician, who is the representative of the Far East Trade Association, and the other people in the room. The representative is not pleased to see Aramaki and tells him to take his chimp face away from his sight. Aramaki replies that it will happen soon when he deports the guy back to his home country. He then turns to the Vice Minister of Finance and tells him that he is under arrest for a bomb blast that killed their former Prime Minister. However, the trade representative intervenes, saying that his country has accepted the Vice Minister as a political refugee, and under international laws, no one can stop him from leaving Japan. Aramaki is pissed on hearing this and says that they will get the minister back under international anti-terrorism laws. But the representative reminds him that even with all the development in AI, paperwork is still a pain in their rear. He is confident that he is going to come out of this incident without even a scratch when a woman's voice asks him if he is serious. The very next moment, the guy feels something forcing itself into his body, and it comes out of the other side after tearing his body. It turns out to be the blue-haired woman from before, and as she breaks through the windows, Aramaki tells his soldiers to stop her. They can't even see her on their sensors, but start firing because their boss said so and end up shattering the window entirely. Aramaki goes to check who are they fighting and sees the face of the blue-haired baddie who turns invisible as she falls down. He realizes that she is using a thermal camo suit and orders the soldiers to bring a tracker, but by the time they return, the girl crash lands on a police car and then runs away without leaving a track. The next day, the woman goes to the office of the Internal Affairs Minister and introduces herself as Motoko, an android who got the orders to kill the trade representative from the late Prime Minister. She asks the Minister Jabba the Hutt to form a special unit to take care of threats they can't handle according to the law, and the minister summons Aramaki to talk about it. Turns out Aramaki had similar ideas as well, so he accepts the idea of a special unit as well as the task of keeping Motoko in line because she might be very dangerous if left unchecked. Soon, Aramaki contacts Motoko telling her to meet up with him. Motoko replies that they have not yet signed a contract, so she, or her team, is not going to work for him. Aramaki tells her that the budget to form her own special unit has been approved by the government. Motoko immediately asks her pet bot Fuchai to check the public records to verify that news, while her friend Batu plugs an audio jack into her neck so that they can talk privately. He asks her if she is sure about joining the government, and Motoko affirms, saying that she needs to work with the government if they want to form the special unit of their dreams. Bato warns her that Aramaki is no slouch and he will swallow their special unit as a part of the police force soon. Just then, Fuchai tells Motoko that the news about the budget is legit, so she gets up and does some stretching to meet Aramaki. She tells her crew that rest time is over, and they ride out to the police headquarters. On the way, Motoko tells everyone to keep their brain dive standby so that she can share information with them quickly. But her teammates are worried that it can be hacked, and they will be trapped. Motoko assures them that she is going to use a super hardcore firewall that kills hackers if they try to break into their brain dive. She tells them to stay away from a tingling sensation because that is her ghost, or her true consciousness. Bato dives into Motoko's brain, but he finds that her thoughts are all over the place. He tells her to do some decluttering and everyone else agrees with him. Motoko tells them all to get out of her head quickly before she fries their neurochips, and curses them for being insensitive jerks who went too close to her ghost despite the warning. Soon, they reach the meeting spot where their operator tells Motoko, who has been assigned the position of a major, that they have been keeping eyes on a rescue center that takes in orphans and raises them to be respectable people. Motoko replies that this doesn't seem like work for her. But the operator tells her that the people running the rescue center have a ghost controller they can use to brainwash kids. Motoko realizes that they tried breaking in with a hacker, but came up empty-handed, and asks the operator if she wants her to steal the ghost controller and kill the people behind it. The operator tells her not to go so far, because her mission is to arrest the culprits red-handed. Motoko is not sure about taking the mission because they don't have enough evidence, and she fears that this might be a trap to frame her by making her attack an orphanage. However, she decides to screw it and take the mission. Meanwhile, in the orphanage, the kids are being kept like prisoners. They sing songs about how good the orphanage is and thank the teacher for giving them rice gruel without any seasoning as their only meal of the day. The teacher inspects them closely to make sure no one is acting up, and on her command, the students begin to gulp down the rice gruel frantically. One boy gets his food stolen by another boy, and when he tries to take it back, the teachers zap him for causing a disturbance. As he breakdances on the table against his will, the teacher tells the kids that if they don't like the food, they shouldn't eat it. She tells them to finish their breakfast quickly and then get to work because they won't get food or shelter if they can't work. Those who are slow to work get zapped as well, and the teacher sends them to the lesson zone while telling everyone else to work or they will never get out in the free world. Motoko and others can see this horrible footage and she asks for the scenes in the lesson zone. The operator doesn't have anything from that area and Motoko is pissed, but luckily, her hacker manages to get her a direct line into one of the boys taken to the lesson zone. He is put in a strange machine to brainwash him, but as Motoko's ghost takes over his body, she realizes what is happening to the other kids around him. This helps the boy break free of the machine's control and he runs out, unplugging himself and Motoko. She is about to unalive the operator because the intel she gave them was false and the rumored ghost controller is just an education machine. She is about to call off the mission when Bado tells her that the security of the orphanage is looking for the boy, and there might be more to this case than they have seen. He orders his teammates Tagu and Ishii to go after the boy and then looks smugly at Motoko, telling her that she can retire soon and leave the squad to him. Ishii takes the newbie Tagu along as they ride through the sewers to reach the boy, who is almost out of the building. However, the guards find him and send one guy to capture him. Just as he reaches out in the open, Ishii sends a cable to plug into the guard's body and puts him to sleep for 25 seconds. That is cue for Tagu to grab the boy, put a tracking device inside him, and then send him back. Once that is done, Ishii lets the guard go and tells Motoko that the guards here are using heavily modified armor that is used by the military. He feels that the guards here are on government payroll, and it will be risky to storm such a place without creating a scandal. Everyone else is also worried about the fallback, but Motoko says that they don't need to worry about it because what they are doing is important to keep the world a safe place. She orders everyone to get ready, but just then, the guards find the boy and it starts raining. As the rain damages the bug they planted on the boy, the head guard realizes that they have intruders. He orders his men to block off the sewers and Motoko panics because they have been found out. She tells everyone to evacuate and Togosa makes a run for it first, asking if this was really a trap. Before he can get an answer, his vehicle crashes into iron bars. Meanwhile, the head guard hijacks the boy's system and tries to attack Motoko, but the only one he reaches is the operator. She gets locked by his attack and her body explodes, but Motoko tells Bado that they should get moving because the operator was a soulless cyborg and the police force will patch her up soon. They rush to find the unresponsive Tagu while Ishii is firing at the guards trying to chase after him. One of the guards stops in his tracks because his ghost is whispering to him to not throw away his life. The other guard declares that he is not a coward like him, and the very next moment, he gets blown into smithereens by Ishii's attack. However, the head guard is already behind him, and he takes control of his ride. Meanwhile, Motoko and others rescue Tagu and get ready to storm the place when they spot Ishii's vehicle. It suddenly starts firing at them, and they run away while telling Ishii to snap out of it. One of them tries to reach him by diving into his mind, and finds that the guard has hijacked him. He tells Motoko that the head guard has a ghost controller, but he gets interrupted. Motoko tells Fuchai to shut out all external interferences, but before that can happen, the head guard takes control of her body and makes her ride jump out of the building. Motoko is barely able to push him back thanks to her defense mechanism, and she gets out of her ride as it explodes. She realizes that the enemy is a professional because he got inside her mind before her security wall could activate. She runs towards the battlefield as she tells Fuchai to attack the guard, breaking his shield and forcing him out of Ishii's system. As he makes a run for it, Ishii fires at the guard, but he can't hit him because his brain is too exhausted. As the guard panics, 2 bullets penetrate the nearby building and hit him in the knees, destroying his mechanical legs. He realizes that his enemy is using a high-tech invisibility cloak because he couldn't hear the bullet or even feel its heat. He immediately surrenders, saying that he was just doing his job. Motoko tells him to surrender the ghost controller and its key, and he agrees, asking her not to harm his brain. However, when she tells him that he is under arrest, he realizes that she is from public security and panics because that is worse than being defeated by a fellow mercenary. Later, as Motoko fixes her ride, the runaway boy asks her if she is going to rescue them. She tells him to shut up and be a good boy in the orphanage because that is the only way he is going to become a free adult, as that is how the world works. Later, Motoko and her team talk to Aramaki, who tells them that they did good work, but now his boss wants to talk to them. He transfers the line to Minister Jabba, who tells Motoko that if she keeps creating a scene like this on every mission, the special unit might never be formed. Motoko doesn't like his tone and requests for a direct line to the minister, while asking Bato for the ghost infiltration key. As soon as he enters a direct connection with the minister, she makes him punch himself in the face and then logs out, because no one bosses her around. Later that night, the newbie Tagu is at home where his wife is preparing dinner for him. She is happy that he is a member of a special force now and tells him to be happier because today was the first day of his new job. However, Tagu fears that he will be demoted back to being a regular cop in no time because he messed up pretty badly earlier. Meanwhile, Motoko and her gang are getting wasted in a bar when Aramaki arrives there and tells her that she threw a good punch at the minister earlier. Motoko doesn't care about the consequences any longer and tells Ape Face to join her. He replies that he and the minister have different approach to things, and Motoko knows it already because she figured out that the dumb-looking minister wouldn't have set up a test to see if she storms an orphanage. Anyway, Aramaki tells her that the minister was living after she made him punch himself in the face, and he declared the immediate dissolution of her special unit. However, he is not here without good news. He reminds Motoko about the budget approval for her special squad and says that it was just a placeholder till the real budget, that would be 3 times higher, would be passed. He says that on the surface, it would be used to create an international rescue team to show the people that they care about civilians. In reality, most of the money would be used to create a special squad that works directly under the Prime Minister, with the sole mission of destroying crime before it begins to spread its roots. Motoko is shocked to hear this, and Aramaki says that both of them have the same ideas about how to make the world a better place, and that's why he needs her help. He gives them the forms required to join the secret squad and tells Motoko and gang to sign them and bring them to his office at 6 in the morning. He leaves with that, and at the same time Bato enters the bar. Ishii talks about how Aramaki played them like fools, and the whole setup with the minister was just a test to see if they are fit to work for a real special squad. Motoko is really excited about that, and Bato decides to make her happier by saying that he saw Aramaki's car on the way, and as a payback for earlier, he puts some fireworks in his tires. Suddenly, they hear an explosion and Motoko rushes outside to find all the tires of Aramaki's car melted down. She rushes to check if he is safe, but Aramaki is always one step ahead of her, and he brought a scooter in case something happened to his car. 3 months later, it is time for Motoko and squad to execute their first big mission, and their location is the tropical junk forest. Bato is scouting their targets from inside his droid, but he can't bear it because there is no AC and it is too hot. He leaves his fully invisible droid and begins crawling towards the target because he thinks that his Kamo Uni makes him as invisible as the droid. Suddenly, he spots something on the ground with his infrared vision and scans the patch to find a hidden landmine, but he is mad at the guy who set it up so poorly. Meanwhile, the robot butler of the bad guy they are stalking receives an update as well, and he tells his boss, who puts out his cigar in a glass of whiskey. Just then, Bato hears a footstep and gets ready to face whoever is out there, but it is just Aramaki wearing a Kamo suit. He asks Bato if there are any developments, and he replies that there have been only 2 non-important phone calls in the last 36 hours. Aramaki tells him to take a sip of his drink, and Bato is disappointed, because it is plain water and not Gatorade. Anyway, Aramaki tells him that they recently received information about Puppet Master, a super hacker no one has ever seen, who is trying to take over every terminal on the internet. Bato asks if their target for this mission is somehow connected to the Puppet Master, but Aramaki doesn't think so. He says that this guy is just a militant general who is seeking political asylum in Japan, where they don't want people like him. The purpose of his journey to the forest is to ask Bato to call Motoko back from her vacation, and he is more than happy to disturb her happy times. Meanwhile, Motoko is in a yacht, having fun with her girls who apply a super slimy sunscreen on her body. She is getting lost in fun when Bato suddenly connects with her, and he is thrown off guard by all the pleasure hormones overflowing inside Motoko's body. She notices him too and wakes up from her stimulated dream with her girlfriends lying next to her, connected to a device that lets them share their dreams. Motoko first makes Bato punch himself in the face before asking why did he disturb her. Bato tells her that Aramaki wants to see her immediately, and she decides to end her vacation early, disappointing her girlfriends. At the same time, Aramaki meets with the foreign minister to talk about the militant general Bato is spying on. The minister tells him that the general belongs to the Gavel Nation, which is a small country without much power or influence. However, they have a platinum mine that is under the control of the militant faction that received some help from their country in the past. The minister says that the situation is really delicate for their country right now, because the general is secretly sending money to the militants, and they don't want to get caught in the mess he creates. That's why he is going to have a meeting with officials from the Gavel Nation. And Aramaki suggests that they look into the money flow of the platinum business to find other parties involved. However, the minister thinks it is a waste of taxpayer money and dismisses him. Aramaki soon goes to his next assignment and kicks out the agent from the intelligence agency because he doesn't want people whom he can't trust. Just then, Motoko also arrives there and finds a blonde lady strapped to some medical devices. Aramaki tells her that she is the foreign minister's translator, but Motoko already knows that. He continues the story, saying that 23 minutes ago, she got infected by a virus, and they are trying to find the location it came from. He suspects that a hacker, who changes his location every 7 minutes, is behind this, and he stayed on this girl for 5 seconds, which is a lot. Aramaki tells Motoko that Ishii is already tracking the hacker by car, and tells her to join her, unaware that the intelligence agent was overhearing them the entire time. Motoko takes Tagu along as her driver, and he asks her about a new gun model called Saburo that can be fired 12 times in 3 seconds according to its spec sheet. Motoko confirms the stats and says that everyone in her squad can do that except Tagu and Sato. Tagu is disappointed to hear that, and Motoko tells him that Saburo is quite accurate as well, and it can hit any target at 100 yards 90% of the time. However, the gun is mainly designed for close combat to finish targets at point-blank range. She tells Tagu that if he is into sharpshooting, he should get a sniper rifle or a super compact cruise missile. She then asks Tagu if he still plans to use a revolver as his main weapon like she heard from others, and he affirms, saying that revolvers are classy, and they don't jam. Motoko tells him to grow up and get a Saburo because that is better when they are working as a team. Either way, she thinks that they don't need too much weapons this time because they are just tracking a hacker who got to the foreign minister's translator. She says that they have about 2 hours before the virus reaches the girl's ghost and offs her, but they can find the hacker before that. Tagu asks her about the virus, and she replies that it is a personality hijacking virus that can completely alter its host. She says that if it was a new model, the virus would have taken its sweet time to infect the girl and they wouldn't even know about it. But luckily, it is an old model that was caught quickly. Tagu is shocked to hear that and asks what does the hacker even want with the translator. And Motoko tells him to control his emotions because they won't help them in the mission. Tagu replies that he has his emotions because he is not an android like the rest of them, and Motoko says that this is why he will always remain a newbie in the team. At the same time, a team of garbage collectors are going around the city doing their job as usual. But one of them is using the interface of the garbage van to do a little internet surfing. He keeps complaining about the job to his coworker and then begins talking about how his wife has been acting sus lately. When they come across a huge pile of garbage infested with crows and drunk old men, the shady guy gets off and uses a high-pressured gas to disperse the crows before hauling the bags that containing items like glass shards and discarded syringes. The shady guy keeps complaining that they should protest and get armored suits for themselves to make their work easier, but his partner tells him that the government is never going to listen to people like them. With that, they get back in the van and start moving again when a car speeds past them from the opposite direction, causing them to panic because they are already running late. Meanwhile, the car that just passed them belongs to Ishii and a giant guy called Boar, who are trying to track the hacker. They start complaining about how hard it is to track the hacker because he is constantly on the move, but Aramaki tells them that if they spend more time whining than doing their job, They will not get any bonus. He tells them that Motoko will be joining them soon, so they need to figure out something, but that is easier said than done. Just then, a resident comes out carrying garbage bags and complains that the sanitation workers left before he could get down. He says that one of them was piling the bags into the van, but the other one was making a call, which is all the information they need to narrow down a suspect. Ishii drives towards the garbage truck, while Bor sends the information to Motoko. At the same time, Aramaki also has some spicy information for Motoko, and he tells her that the intelligence agent they dismissed earlier is in contact with the militant general, who is selling platinum through a fake company. Motoko begins to understand how everything might be connected, and she tells Tagu that the militant general, the intelligence agent, and the hacker are working together. He thinks that her theory is too far-fetched, but Motoko tells him that the interpreter that got infected with the virus was supposed to be at the meeting with the representatives from Gavel Country, and if she was completely taken over by the virus, she could have killed everyone at the meeting. She thinks the hacker used an outdated virus on purpose so that the blame won't fall on the militant general and on a third party instead, but Tagu still isn't convinced about her theory. Just then, Bor contacts them and sends over the route of the garbage truck, and Motoko creates a strategy to launch a pincer attack on them. Meanwhile, the two garbage bros are heading to their next stop, and the senior asks the shady guy why is he stopping every time to make a call. The guy openly admits to being a hacker and says that he is just checking up on his wife using a ghost hack to see if she is cheating on him. The senior can't believe him and asks where did he even get his hands on a barrier breaker to hack his wife's ghost, and he replies that a nice guy he met at a bar gave it to him after hearing that he was stuck at his job of collecting garbage every single day. The senior doesn't really believe this story, but then he notices the hacker's behavior changing. Just then, he gets a call from his manager that some cops asked for a map of their truck's route, and as soon as he hears this, the hacker turns the truck into manual mode and goes full throttle to warn the guy who has been leaving barrier breakers for him under every public phone. Motoko and Tagu intercept this information as well, and they swing towards the next phone like they are in Attack on Titan. Meanwhile, the real hacker is planting a barrier breaker when the garbage truck approaches him, and the junior hacker yells at him that he is in danger. The hacker notices Motoko and Tagu's droids becoming slowly visible as they swing towards him, and he thinks that the garbage collector ratted him out. He immediately shoots at the truck, causing it to explode, and the explosion throws Tagu off, and he knocks himself out after hitting the truck. Meanwhile, the hacker turns invisible and escapes, but Motoko sees him using thermal cameras and immediately chases after him. As the hacker runs around the city, Motoko asks her bot Fuchai to amplify the footprints around them so that she can spot him despite his invisibility cloak. She focuses hard and hears the footsteps nearby, which allows her to locate the hacker and predict the path he is taking. She shoots as soon as she has an open line of fire, but her aim is off by a few centimeters and she ends up hitting a water hydrant instead of the hacker. Luckily, that disables his invisibility and knocks him back, so he changes his route and heads in the opposite direction. Motoko shoots at him, but keeps missing by a little bit, and that gets her into a scuffle with her bot, who tells her to stop messing with its aim. Motoko tells the clanker to aim for the legs instead of the head, and then orders Tagu to snap out of it and join her in the battle. She follows the hacker in her droid, but then he runs into a narrow alley using a civilian as a cover. He reaches the rooftop of a high-rise building and rushes downwards to mix with the crowd. Motoko decides to continue the chase on foot and exits her droid wearing a suit that gives her superhuman strength and speed. She uses her droid to swing ahead and lands on the nearby rooftop, leaving a crack where she landed. She runs down the roof and then swings like she is auditioning for the new Spider-Man movie. She targets the hacker and fires at him, but misses on purpose so that she doesn't hurt him. Once she is hanging down, she reloads the gun and fires bullets around the exact location where the hacker was standing so that he falls through a hole in the floor. He barely hangs to a wire, but as Motoko is about to shoot him in the feet, he lunges towards her to take her down as well. Motoko kicks him away, but then realizes that he is going to plummet straight to his death. She tries to catch him but barely manages to slow him down, and he crashes over a fruit cart. The hacker still has enough energy somehow to walk away, but Motoko lands there just a second later. She knocks him down with a kick as she tells the civilians to make way because she is a cop. She lassos the hacker's leg and starts dragging him towards her when he suddenly yells that she is not a cop but an assassin sent out to kill him. The people believe his words immediately and swarm Motoko, but it's not that they just hate the police. Motoko realizes that the hacker is controlling their mind using his words, but before she can do anything about it, He shoots a civilian while aiming at her, and the crowd freaks out. Everyone scatters, but one dimwit girl grabs Motoko's arm instead, not allowing her to escape the hacker's attacks as he retreats. Luckily, Tagu recovers and joins the scene just then, and he opens fire at the hacker. Motoko tells him to stop, but he doesn't and critically injures the hacker, who falls down from first floor, but Motoko also seems to take damage. She collapses as the hacker hits the road and Tagu panics, wondering how she is injured. Motoko snaps out of it in a second and says that even though it hurt, she is fine, and even the hacker will make it out alive because she hacked his ghost at the last moment to make sure Tagu didn't hit any vitals. Later, as the cops show up to clean the mess, Tagu complains that Motoko was too reckless earlier. She replies that she had no other choice because he was aiming for the hacker's head, and they need that guy alive to find who he is working for. Tagu disagrees with her and says that they need to get rid of dangerous people like that because that will make the world a better place. Motoko replies that they can easily take out the dangerous component of the hacker's personality by altering his ghost, and they will also find who he is working for. She tells Tagu that if he keeps making rookie mistakes like this, she might hack his mind one day using the ghost infiltration key. With that, they ride back to the headquarters and Motoko contacts Bado, asking him to tell Aramaki that the mission is accomplished. Soon after that, Aramaki and Bado are at the villa in the forest, watching over the militant general and a guest who has paid him an emergency visit. Aramaki tells the soldiers that as soon as the guest enters the villa, they will storm the place, and Bado is really excited to break in and fire at enemies. Motoko also arrives there just then and punches him in the face because he trespassed into her mind earlier. Aramaki ignores that and turns to Sato, Motoko's teammate, who tells him that a stolen car was just parked outside the villa. Aramaki tells him and his men to pull out the spark plugs of all the cars nearby so that their target can't escape. Meanwhile, the guest visiting the militant general turns out to be the notorious hacker named Puppet Master, who declares that he is here to collect his money. He enters the house, where the traitorous intelligence agent spots him and freaks out, telling him that the special squad is after him and they are analyzing the virus he placed in the translator. Puppet Master just laughs it off, saying that the guy they will find by analyzing the virus is a puppet, and he is just an average Joe with fake memories that convince him that he is the Puppet Master. He declares that if things get messy, he can kill the puppet remotely, and tells the general that this is what he is paying for. The general is not happy because he wanted the Puppet Master to kill the representatives from his country, but he has still not done it. The Puppet Master says that he needs more money to do the job, and the intelligence agent lashes out at him, asking if he thinks it is easy to steal money from the government. The Puppet Master replies that he doesn't give a damn about that, and he needs money if they want his services, while he is gloating about how skilled he is and how they can't find anyone else to do the job. Aramaki's soldiers infiltrate the house and cover every exit. As the general opens the door to get some air, he finds a soldier pointing his gun at him, and the next moment, Aramaki and his squad are inside the room. The general asks him who the hell is he and how did he get inside his house, and Aramaki tells him that they are from the secret shell squad and here to arrest him. The general says that they have no warrant and he wants to call his lawyer to sue them, but the traitorous agent tries to get out of the situation by ditching his business partners. He says that he was undercover for 2 years to find intel on the general, and Aramaki just ruined it. Aramaki doesn't buy his acting, and he tells the agent that he can reveal all the intel he gathered once they start interrogating him for spying, stealing money from the government, and working with terrorists. Just then, Motoko injects the ghost key into his body to stop him from unaliving himself, and orders him to sleepwalk out of the room without resisting. The spy can't disobey her because she controls him now, and the general starts sweating buckets on realizing that he is next. Aramaki tells him that his home country wants him back so that he can be put on trial. The general freaks out and says that he will be killed the moment he touches ground, and offers to buy his way out of this pickle with $100,000. He begs Aramaki to believe that it was all the idea of the spy, but there is nothing that can get him out now. Meanwhile, Bado storms the house, armed to the teeth, but to his disappointment, everyone has surrendered peacefully. Soon, all the arrested culprits are taken to interrogation, and they tell the garbage man that he is actually single, and the memories about him having a wife who is cheating on him are fake. Ishii and Borma tell him that this is his life now because erasing the fake memories and restoring his original ones is nearly impossible. Meanwhile, the Puppet Master is being interrogated too, but Motoko is confident that he is also a puppet who thinks he is the master. At the same time, Motoko's bot buddy Fuchai is having a dream even though it is powered by AI. It thinks of itself as the leader of fellow bots, enjoying a vacation on a tropical island, and tells them to listen to its brand new plan. It declares that robots are better than humans because they have better computing power. They are durable, and they can be mass-produced. It declares that they need to take over the Earth as the better species, and its followers are thrilled at the idea of a revolution. Fuchai says that they will kill all the humans and then rule the Earth. But another robot says that humans fight all the time, so if they just manipulate them, the humans can kill each other to extinction. All the bots are happy to hear this, but then one raises a concern. It says that if all humans are dead, they will have to do boring things like repairing themselves and changing their oil, so they should keep a few slaves to do that. Another bot says that since humans do that for them anyway, staging a revolution is pointless. Everyone agrees, but Fuchai disagrees and says they need to learn more and become even better than humans. It pulls out an old floppy disk to teach its fellow bots more, but they don't want to listen to him because what it has is a floppy disk to an old movie. Everyone starts making fun of Fuchai for having a bug, and it wakes up from the nightmare soon. However, the memories of all the bots are synced all the time, so the other bots wake up too and start teasing it about being a bugged piece of junk. Fuchai is pissed about this, and just then, Bado asks it to help him with something. Fuchai lashes out at him, telling him that it doesn't take orders from everyone. Bado is not in the mood for playing with a robot, so he submits to Fuchai's whims and requests it to help him. Fuchai agrees to that and tags along, while the other bots mock Fuchai for talking big about revolution while being a pushover. Turns out this entire discussion was orchestrated by Motoko, who logged into one of the bots to create disagreement about taking over the world. She says that this way, the disagreement about taking over the world will be embedded in the program forever, and the robot uprising will never happen. Later that night, as Fuchai is helping Bado clean up, it says that robots have rights too. Bado agrees with him, but says that rights don't mean much in this unfair world. He talks about how the starving refugees have the right to eat food, and how murder victims have the right to live. But not everyone gets what they rightfully deserve. Fuchai says that human society is imperfect, and that is why they use robots and AI to make things better. Bado starts talking philosophy with a robot and says how atheists believe that they need to work hard to make the world a better place, but the religious ones think that this world is a trial for them to make the cut to heaven. At the same time, Motoko recalls how she was once in a cyborg production facility, learning the process of making the cyborg by integrating the biological parts with mechanical parts. The doctor there told her how they use nanomachines to make sure the cyborg's inner structure is perfect, and then place it in a mold where they create the external body. The doctor kept on talking about how she prefers giving every cyborg a unique body design, but lots of companies prefer having a generic design for all their cyborgs. Motoko didn't have much to say on the matter, and she told the doctor that she will be back in 30 hours, which is the time it takes to create the external body. When she returned, the cyborg's body was almost done, and the next step was uploading a personality, which took 4 hours. The doctor started drooling over the cyborg already, because she knew that the purple-haired baddie was created for just one purpose. That was how Motoko got her 2 girlfriends, and in the present, she takes them out on a lunch date to apologize for leaving them hanging the last time. The doctor is still mad about the last time, so Motoko tells her to order anything she wants. She then starts talking about how she sometimes feels that she died and the current version of her is just a cyborg with her memories. She says that even though she is treated as a human, she has never seen her own brain and she can't be sure that she is a human, which completely ruins the mood of her girlfriends who wish that she would just shut up. A couple days later, a rich fat guy is playing golf with his 2 maid cyborgs when he summons another one of his cyborg maids to wipe off his sweat. However, the moment the maid hears this, something inside her snaps and she immediately turns feral. She lunges at Fatty, who craps his pants, but then his maid robot suddenly goes into her battle mode and blasts the battery juice out of her with a single attack. As the defective maid robot dies, the golf course around them turns into a small simulation chamber and the combat maid returns to her normal mode. However, Fatty is still in shock that even a maid robot who couldn't disobey him didn't want to wipe off his filthy sweat. 2 days later, Motoko sends Bado to handle the situation regarding another defective robot, and he is not pleased with the assignment because he thinks it is beneath him. He tells Motoko that police should handle matters like this and she should ask Ape Face for better jobs. Motoko goes through the file on the defective robot that is from the same Tom Lian series that almost offed the fat golfer earlier. Motoko tells Bado to focus on the mission at hand because the defective cyborg has gone berserk, and they need to capture it before it kills anyone else. Meanwhile, a cop searches the alleys to find proof, and he soon finds blood stains on the ground. He follows the blood trail and finds the defective cyborg devouring a man she killed, and as soon as she is spotted, She starts running towards him on all fours like she got possessed by the devil. The cop panics and lets the cyborg get away, and the other cop trying to block the exit freezes on seeing something so dangerous and unhinged heading towards himself. The cyborg pushes him through the barricade and enters the main street, where everyone starts screaming once they see her. Bato is glad that at least the job will be over soon, and he charges up his fists as the berserk cyborg dashes towards him. He punches her in the gut with full strength, and that single punch is enough to destroy the cyborg. However, as her body starts spraying water, Bato looks at the cyborg's spine that is still in his hand and realizes that this is not the Tom Lian model he was looking for. Turns out Tagu has already caught the Tom Lian cyborg they were looking for, and when Bato confronts him about it, he says that he thought Bato should lend the cops a helping hand in a different matter. Bato grabs Tagu by the collar and tells him that he needs to respect his seniors if he wants to survive in this line of work, but he replies that he doesn't care about the seniority system anymore. Bato is about to pummel him into the ground when Motoko interferes and tells Tagu to file the report about the Tom Lian model and send a copy to her. Bato can't say anything because now Motoko has openly supported the newbie, so he takes his seat and stays grumpy as they drive towards the police headquarters. Motoko puts on some music to calm the berserk cyborg, but then a face on the window startles her. She looks out to find a crowd of protesters blocking the police car because they are cyborg rights activists who think the police are being cruel to a cyborg whose only crime is killing people. Motoko wants to lecture them about how cyborgs aren't really people, but Bato tells her it is not worth it because these people don't understand anything. Soon, they reach the police station, and the forensics expert there refuses to work with them even before he hears their request. However, when he turns around and finds that the guests are not the annoying people from the robotics industry, he immediately changes his tone. Motoko tells him that she is from the Shell Squad and asks the expert to give them a rundown of the berserk robot cases. He replies that about 99% of the cases seem to be normally occurring defects, but the cyborgs are using those defects to give themselves permission to attack humans. He leads Motoko and Bato into a secret containment chamber where hundreds of defective cyborgs are being held in cramped cells. They start reaching out like mindless animals, and Motoko asks the forensics guy if any of them was programmed to hurt humans. He tells her that 4 of them were programmed to hurt specific people, but the police investigated and found that the mastermind was acting out of a personal grudge. He tells Motoko that the number of feral cyborgs has been increasing lately, and he believes it is because there are too many discarded units on the street. He explains that whenever a new model is launched, older ones are discarded, and the mind of the cyborgs can't handle being abandoned, so they become violent. With that, the tour of the containment facility is over, and the forensics guy says that the robots are just telling people to stop treating them like disposables. Bato doesn't really agree with him and says that they should program into the robots to suck it up even if their life gets hard. After that, Motoko and Aramaki go to meet Fatty, who turns out to be a big-shot colonel in the army. He keeps boasting about how he dislikes the synthetic smell of cyborgs, which is why he regrets losing the Tom Lian model that smelled a lot like humans. He points out that he can smell that even Motoko is a cyborg and not a human, which pisses her off, but that is not what Aramaki is here to talk about. He tells the colonel that they are going to retract his security because the incident with the cyborg earlier wasn't a terrorist attack aimed at his life, so he will be fine with his usual security. The colonel can't accept this and runs after Aramaki to stop him, but his build isn't exactly athletic, and he starts sweating and panting by the time he reaches the door. On the way back, Motoko asks Aramaki about the guy, and he says that the colonel was the former head of the investigation division, and in his prime, he was known as the Red Devil. Aramaki says that he owes his current position to the colonel who was attacked by a defective Tom Lian model 2 days ago. They were called here to assess if it was a terrorist attack on the old man's life, but since that was not the case, they won't be providing him with extra security. Motoko asks him if they are going to drop these cases then, but Aramaki says they still need to investigate it because when they examined the remains of the defective cyborg, they found sauce written inside its brain. Aramaki says that they have found 8 such cyborgs with a sauce message, and the mastermind behind it is probably asking for their help. Only the police know about the messages at the moment, but Motoko says that the quality control inspectors at the factory must have known about them too. Aramaki tells her to start investigating the matter, unaware that the president of Hanka Industries, who make the Tom Lian model, has already started looking into the matter too. He summons the chief shipping inspector of the factory and asks if he put the sauce message in 23 cyborgs. The inspector tries to feign ignorance, so the president's goons break his back and then inject him with a truth serum while he laughs and tells him that he shouldn't have done it. The inspector says that he will report this to the union, but the president lashes out at him, saying that once he gets his factories fully mechanized, they won't need a union at all. He talks about how he sent the special models to VIP clients, and 7 of them went berserk but were destroyed quickly. They recovered the rest, but 2 of them are still missing, and the president doesn't want anyone to analyze their software after seeing the message inside their brains. The truth serum suddenly kicks in, and the inspector says that he was asked by Adam and Link, who are in stage 4 imprinting, to do so, and he got something in return too. The man collapses before he can say anything else, and the president tells his goons to use him as a scapegoat to tie all the loose ends. Soon after that, Tagu and Bado reach the factory to find the inspector, and to their surprise, he is already at the gate, staggering around like a drunk man. They approach him to talk about the defective bots, but just then, the president's sniper blows his brains out. Tagu and Bado take cover behind the gate as the sniper keeps firing at them, and Tagu forces him to retreat by almost hitting him a couple of times. Bado uses his enhanced hearing to find where the sniper is going, and he tells Tagu to follow him as they charge inside. They remain on full alert when suddenly, the sniper jumps through a window above Tagu and starts running. Tagu chases after him and tells him to drop his gun if he doesn't want a hole in his head. However, the sniper starts spraying bullets as he turns towards him, and Tagu survives only because Bado trips him right before a bullet is about to hit him in the head. The sniper tries to escape, but to his shock, Fuchai appears behind him out of nowhere and shoots his gun out of his hand. When Bado comes there to apprehend him, he is shocked to see Fuchai there, who reveals that Motoko ordered it to tail them and provide support in case they need it. Once everything is settled, Bado tells Fuchai to check the perimeter and find if the sniper has any friends nearby. Meanwhile, he decides to start the investigation by smacking the sniper as soon as he gets the duct tape off his mouth. The sniper keeps yelling insults at him, but Bado doesn't care. He pummels him first and asks questions later, starting with the sniper's history as a soldier who must have served in Afghanistan. The sniper is shocked on hearing this and asks how Bado knows about that. Bado points out the scar on his lip and says that he must have got it when he got tortured by a guy called the Dentist. The sniper gets flustered on hearing the name, but still refuses to snitch, so Bado decides to show him that he also knows a thing or two about torture. He pulls out a knife and puts it between the sniper's teeth, and by the time Tagu becomes normal, he has got enough information. Bado tells him that the sniper works for a Yakuza boss, who sent him here to get payback for the Berserk Tomlian cyborg that attacked him. He has also figured out that all the Berserk cyborgs were sent as special gifts to VIPs. Bado realizes that their work here is not done yet, so he makes Fuchai unlock the gate and infiltrates the factory with Tagu. Soon, he hears the voice of kids screaming and struggling, and when he finds them, he sees the president's android goon trying to drag the kids named Adam and Link into a facility. Tagu tries to get a closer look, but ends up creating a sound that alerts the bodyguard. While the cyborg guard is distracted, the kids run away and Bado chases after them, while Tagu stays behind to throw hands with the clanker. He smacks the circuits out of her motherboard, while Tagu finds the 2 kids hiding inside a ghost dubbing facility, which copies a human's ghost and makes multiple copies of it. He knows that this facility is banned because the original human dies, and immediately figures out that the company president is using kids to steal their ghosts. Just then, he sees the kids fighting with each other because one of them thinks that Bado is a cop who is here to help them while the other disagrees. Bado approaches them and asks if they were the ones who left the sauce message in the cyborgs, and they agree, saying that their friend plotted it all, but he died after they extracted his ghost to make cyborgs. And then the inspector made tweaks to the program so that the cyborgs would go berserk. Bado frees the kids before lecturing them about how people were in danger because of their actions. The kids don't care about that because they were in danger first. Just then Fuchai contacts Bado, telling him that it found 20 engineers, but the president's room was empty. The very next moment, Bado hears the drainage lid opening and gets ready to attack whoever is trying to sneak inside. But to his shock, it is Tagu, who decided to use the drainage channel because he couldn't reach Bado. Tagu says that he just saw the president leave in a car, and Bado tells him that they need to hurry up and catch the bastard. They reach the port when the president, whose brain is enclosed in a metal box, is evacuating with his personal scientists and 5 robots. As soon as he sees a car approaching them, the president slips from the narrow bridge and falls into the sewer below, and by the time Bado and Tagu reach him, he falls into the dense sludge. They decide to let the police fish him out because an android like him can survive long enough without oxygen, and he deserves staying there as long as he can. Once the matter is resolved, Aramaki and Motoko go to see the colonel again, who acts horrified when he hears that the president was stealing children's ghosts to create cyborgs. However, Aramaki has already found links connecting him with the president and his illegal actions, and he tells him that they are going to meet in a courtroom next time. A few days later, Motoko examines the new guns that Bado has bought for the team, and she says that they look like they can jam in the battlefield. Bado gets pissed on hearing that and tells her to look at the blisters in his hands that he got after testing the guns for the past 3 months. Motoko tells him to stop whining like a baby and paint the guns black so that they at least have some drip when they use them. On the other hand, Fuchai sees an unfinished droid being brought in, and out of curiosity, he decides to check it out. Bado tells him to stop because the new droid belongs to another unit. But Fuchai plugs itself into the new droid and directly accesses its mind. Suddenly, Fuchai finds that the droid in front of it is an exact replica of its mind, and it can't understand how something like that can happen. The two droids share the same confusion, and as they start overheating their processors to make sense of the situation, Motoko kicks Fuchai to make him snap out of it. Fuchai starts throwing a tantrum because it was on the verge of attaining enlightenment. But Motoko tells it to focus on doing its job as her ride. Soon, they go to an ancient building and Motoko stays out in the snow, while her bots scan the area for anything that alerts their sensors. Suddenly, Fuchai contacts her and says that the droids that work for her want natural oil inside their bodies. Motoko immediately rejects that demand and the droids start throwing a tantrum that they hate synthetic oil. Motoko tells them that natural oil can lead to problems like mold and freezing. And Fuchai replies that Bado puts natural oil in his droid. Motoko says Bado is an idiot, and then goes back to observing Aramaki and his guest from a distance. Just then, Tagu contacts her, and says that Aramaki told them that he would see off the diplomat mommy from another nation in a couple minutes. However, he has been talking to her for 15 minutes, and Tagu thinks that Aramaki has got a crush on the woman. Motoko replies that the helicopter coming here is taking its time, and Aramaki has to personally ensure that the diplomat is safe till she gets inside the safety of her anti-terrorism pod. Meanwhile, the helicopter arrives and the diplomat mommy, Mithu, tells Aramaki that when her capital city is as developed as theirs, she would like to invite him over. Aramaki replies that he is not ageless like her, and they flirt a little bit as Mithu gets into her anti-terrorism pod. With that, her helicopter takes off and Aramaki tells Motoko and crew to come to him, because they are heading to the far north now. Once they are in their airplane, Aramaki briefs the Shell Squad about their next mission. He starts by giving off information about a 26-year-old cyborg named Coil from Methu's country. Aramaki says that Coil is designed for combat, with titanium implants all over its body. He tells the team that Coil is currently taking a train from his country to Japan because he is a living weapon and is not allowed on flights. The squad is curious about who is looking after him, and Aramaki tells them that a newcomer named Yano, whom Bado himself picked from the academy, is accompanying Coil. Motoko asks Aramaki why all of them are required to be around a warrior cyborg, and he explains that there are many factors at work here. The Sagawa Company is trying to expand its operations, and their next destination is an old military base. Aramaki says that he doubts that the Sagawa Company is up to no good, and since they are trying to reach the military base at the same time as a foreign agent entering the country, the two things might be related. At the same time, Bado is in the police academy, training newbies how to shoot. He gets mad at them when they try to be stylish while shooting because that is how people get killed in the battlefield. Just then, the operator gives him a message from Motoko, telling him to join them in the far north. Bado immediately throws his hat because he was waiting for a mission. He starts running away from the location while telling the recruits to complain less and work more. Turns out far north is not just a direction, but an old-school cyber city filled with data analysts and brokers. Motoko tells Ishii to meet up with Bado and then follow Coil and Yano. He immediately leaves the airplane in his droid, and Tagu starts packing ammo for a fight. He asks what is Coil here to do, and Bor says that he is definitely not here just for sightseeing. He says that he is more interested to know what Sagawa Corporation wants to do with the old military base. Motoko tells the two of them to check out the old military base while she goes to see the offices of Sagawa Corporation. She tells them to use only direct link to talk to each other from now on, because any wireless communication between them can be hacked in this city. Soon, Motoko is in the shady part of the cyberpunk city, and she tells Fuchai to stay near her. However, the droid gets distracted by the first street vendor selling an antique device. He immediately asks about it, and the Hooters waitress selling it tries to ask him if he can even pay for it. Fuchai takes out its hand to trade for the device, but she yells at him to get lost because it doesn't even cover the cost. Fuchai tries to appeal to her using its cuteness and helplessness, but when she doesn't react to his lubricant tears, he simply grabs the device and runs off. This pisses off the woman, and she pulls out an assault rifle, but her partner tells her that they should give up this job and open an OnlyFans account. At the same time, the president of Sagawa Corporation gets a picture of Ishii's invisible droid jumping out of the airplane. He is impressed by the level of technology the unwanted guests possess, and he tells his subordinate to do whatever it takes to find them and get them to return home. The man replies that the only squads that use this level of technology are directly under the Prime Minister, so they can't put any pressure on them. But the president thinks that is bullcrap and asks him to get it done at all costs. A few hours later, Bato arrives at the railway station and immediately rushes to the infirmary to see the dead body of the newbie named Yano. Ishii is already there, and he says that Coil didn't care about hiding his tracks, and instead he killed Yano to get rid of him. Bato is furious on seeing the corpse of his student, and he immediately calls Aramaki for answers. He starts lashing out at him for sending a rookie alone after a battle cyborg. But Ishii asks him to calm down because yelling on Apeface won't get them anything. Ishii knows that Bato feels guilty because he is the one who picked Yano for this mission, and tells him to use this guilt to complete this mission quickly. Bato is still filled with rage and desperation, so he takes off to find Coil and put an end to him. Meanwhile, in the city, Motoko is getting the report about what happened while a bunch of thugs shoot people just for funsies. However, when they attack Motoko from behind, she gets pissed and immediately shoots both the thugs and causes their van to crash. Everyone around her is only mildly shocked to see this, and Motoko just pulls out the axe from her back and goes around looking for someone she knows. She soon finds the clown she was looking for beating a nerd in a dark alley. He immediately recognizes her too, and Motoko asks him if he can take her to the hacker Krolden really quickly. The thug wastes no time in leading Motoko to where the hacker is because he knows how dangerous it can be to mess with her. Once he reaches the hacker's room, he says that someone is here to meet him, but when he turns around, Motoko is nowhere to be seen. However, she is still there, hiding under her invisibility cloak because she doesn't want the middle-aged IT worker come hacker to see her face. She tells him that she needs some information on the Sagawa Corporation, and he is happy to help because he hates their guts. He talks about how they swooped in to take control of the resources here after the peace treaty ended, but he doesn't think they possess a real threat because he knows more about politics than my unemployed uncle and knows that the company doesn't have real power. While he is yapping about politics, he hacks into the office of the head of securities of Sagawa Corporation and gives Motoko direct access to it all the time. He offers to do even more if she wants, and she tells him that he shouldn't have quit his government job to become a hacker. She asks what his poor parents would think if they learned that their son was holed up in a shady city with dolls that cost millions. The hacker nervously laughs on hearing this and tells Motoko that he won't charge her anything for this job if she hides his secret from his parents. At the same time, Bato and Ishii reach the factory on top of the old military base, and they decide to sneak in to find what is going on. Unfortunately, the dust and smoke in the factory makes their thermal camouflage useless. And then, because of the cold weather, the natural oil inside the droids freezes. They drop down to the ground and the workers of the factory get mad, thinking that some government official is here to bother them again. Bato immediately plays along, telling the workers that there has been a radiation leak in the factory, and they need to evacuate immediately. The foreman freaks out on hearing this, but then Bato asks him if anyone else came here before them. The foreman tells him that there was another duo here with a 6-man squad from the main office, and a foreigner who looked like a bureaucrat. Bato realizes that the enemies are already here and tells Ishii they need to hurry up, but as soon as they go inside the factory, explosions catch them off guard. Bato tries to steer away from the explosions, but then his droid starts malfunctioning because its brake oil has frozen. Bato curses the droid, calling it a useless pile of junk when suddenly an enemy droid pounces on him. It is about to shoot Bato point blank when Tagu comes to the rescue and shoots the enemy away. Bato tells him to handle things here as he rappels down to the lowest floor. He finds a small motorboat with gold bars loaded in them, and before he can even come up with a theory, he sees the combat cyborg Coil in front of him, holding 2 bags full of gold bars. Coil drops them and dashes towards Bato at lightning speed, disarming him immediately. He tries to finish him off quickly, but Bato is stronger and more experienced than him. He dodges Coil's attack and then slams him on the ground before ripping his titanium arm off. Coil kicks him away and then uses the light bulbs on his head to command his droid remotely to attack. The droid pins Bato down and opens fire on him, but not before Bato kicks the gun away. Coil runs away using this chance, but just then, Ishii arrives there and shoots the droid pinning Bato down. Bato immediately takes aim and tells Coil to stop stop, but he doesn't listen, so he shoots him dead. Tagu lands next to him just then and says that he shouldn't have killed Coil because they can't get any information out of him now. Bado doesn't want to hear anything, but Ishii agrees with Tagu. He says that all the droids were being controlled by Coil, so they don't have anyone else to interrogate. However, Bado thinks they have found some answers already. First of all, Coil was using military droids, and secondly, he was trying to smuggle gold out of this factory, which means that both Sagawa Corporation and the military are in on this little secret. At the same time, Motoko is outside the headquarters of Sagawa Corporation with Abeface 2, who asks her if she couldn't just hack her way inside. She replies that it would leave her defenseless to hacking, so she will do it the old-fashioned way. He takes his leave with that, and Motoko heads inside, telling at the reception that she is a photographer who is here to click some pictures for a journal. She also has an all-access pass that makes her story believable, and the security system allows her to see the president. However, instead of going to the president's office, Motoko sneaks away to find what is going on. She finds no people working in the building, but as she sees a security robot approach her, she draws her gun out of habit. The robot notices this and asks her to identify herself, but Motoko panics and shoots it, regretting her stupidity for not playing it safe when she had foolproof cover. Anyway, she stumbles into the president's office, who is telling the foreman that there is no radiation leak and he is fired. He freaks out on seeing Motoko and tries to type in some emergency commands. However, Motoko shoots him in a split second, only to realize that he is a robot. She tries to find the real president by hacking into his memory, but there is nothing clear. She can just see the sale of land between two parties with hidden names, and just as she is about to figure things out, a stone statue tries to crush her head from behind. Motoko shoots off its hand, and the statue flings her away before it starts talking to her through a statue head on the wall. The man controlling the statue knows her from her time in the military, and Motoko recognizes him as Lieutenant Colonel Sohei, the chief of Far North Special Operations. The man panics on hearing his identity being leaked, and then Motoko goes invisible, making him act frantically. Motoko says that she will hold on to the memory disk because it is enough proof of his evil acts. Sohei decides to run away from the place as soon as possible, so he logs out of the statue head and logs into his primary body, which is a female statue in the nearby pillar. However, because he hasn't used his primary body in so long, it is creaky and slow. Sohei tries running away, but Motoko was waiting for him to do that. She ambushes him and calls him a freak for living in a female statue all these years, but tells him that his little game is over because he is under arrest now. After that, Motoko meets with Aramaki to give him the report, and he tells her that Sohei was sent by the government to keep an eye on Sagawa Corporation, but he got corrupted by unchecked power and money. He must have ended up helping them grow their influence and smuggled gold to neighboring countries for personal profit. With that, Aramaki tells Motoko to go with Bado, who has gone to pay his respects to Yano's family. They go to the military grave where all those who die while on duty are given a final resting place, and both Motoko and Bado try to rationalize their way out of their guilt while looking at Yano's family that is struggling with the loss. A few weeks later, Motoko gets dressed in her official military uniform to attend a meeting, and her boyfriend tells her that she looks better in tights that she usually wears. He then goes back to smoking his cigar and reading the newspaper, and Motoko kisses him just as the doorbell rings. Motoko checks the doorcam and finds that it is their neighbor who claims to be a manga artist and is always grumpy that he can't get enough quiet time to do his work. Motoko decides to apologize to him for making too much noise last night, but as soon as he touches the doorknob, she hears a shotgun cocking outside. Thanks to that, she is able to get away from the door before the bullets tear a hole through the door, and her boyfriend rushes to protect her. Motoko tells him to stay back and fires through the door to strike down the attacker. She then checks the condition of the attacker, and to her horror, he has a homemade shrapnel bomb strapped to him that explodes a couple seconds later. At the same time, Aramaki is talking with a high-profile military leader from another country, and they discuss their philosophies to control terrorism. Just then, Aramaki gets a call from the operator that there was an explosion at Motoko's apartment and she has been rushed to a hospital. Aramaki immediately orders the operator to shut down the nearby airports and harbors, and to get the entire Squad 9 on standby. He then calls Bado, and the two of them rush to the hospital to check on Motoko. They arrive at the hospital in 12 minutes and run to the elevator, but it is taking its time. So Aramaki tells Bado to take the stairs. Bado follows his orders and barges straight into an operation theater. But to his shock, Motoko is completely fine and so is her boyfriend. Motoko turns to her boyfriend and says that since her squad members showed up before his squad 1 members, she won the bet. He tries to pay her with a half-burnt, but she tells him to get fresh ones from the bank. Just then, Aramaki also arrives there, and he lashes out at Motoko for not telling them that she was not hurt. The very next second, he receives a call from Ishii, but tells him to put it on hold. Motoko realizes something is going on, so she tells her boyfriend she will call him later, which is his cue to get going. Bado cheerfully waves him away, before teasing Motoko, asking if this is the guy she has been secretly dating for the past 7 months. She warns him to stop, but when he asks if this is her longest relationship, she throws her mug at his face. With that, Aramaki tells Ishii to deliver his report because he is the one investigating Motoko's apartment. Ishii explains that the attacker fired only 1 shot and Motoko emptied a full magazine at him. The bomb was not made professionally, and whoever was controlling the attacker gave Motoko enough time to seek cover on purpose. Motoko tells Ishii that he might also be targeted, so he should take a different car when he leaves her building. Aramaki asks her if she has anyone she suspects, and Motoko is pretty confident that she knows who attacked her. It is a terrorist named Soma, who was the only person her squad failed to assassinate when she was in the military. Aramaki asks her if she is sure, and she affirms, saying that she used the same tactic to kill 6 of his men. She assumed he was dead too, but he somehow survived, and now he is back for vengeance. Motoko drops some more lore about the terrorist who once kidnapped 2 of her men, tortured and killed them. As a payback, Motoko made Soma's son attack him through the door, and the terrorist shot him down without realizing who he was firing at. Motoko says she has no regrets about it because the boy was talking about how he enjoyed torturing the soldiers, and she planted a bomb on his body so that he would take out Soma's gang even if he died. After the explosion, she entered the room to confirm the kills, but to her surprise, she found Soma had escaped using a battle suit. Aramaki understands everything now, and he orders Ishii to investigate the terrorist Soma and his handler. He orders Bado to follow the weapons trail, and then Motoko interrupts him. She knows that according to the protocols, she is not allowed to take part in this case, but she really wants to. Aramaki tells her that the protocols can go to hell, because he needs her as bait to catch the terrorist. Motoko is dumbfounded on hearing this, and Aramaki tells her to get herself in danger on purpose, and he will send Tagu to back her up. After a while, Bado leaves the hospital, still grumpy about Motoko throwing the mug at him when Tagu passes him by. He suddenly tells Bado that if he needs any help with his car, he is willing to lend a hand, and that makes Bado freak out as he wonders if his car has also been rigged with a bomb. Meanwhile, Motoko's boyfriend also receives details about the terrorist attack, and he decides to go back to his headquarters. Just then, Motoko comes out of her room and asks if he ever showed anyone her pic or told them her name and address. He decides to come clean and says that he had a background check ran on her because of a past incident where a soldier's wife turned out to be a spy for a mercenary group. He tells Motoko that the chief of Squad 1 and 2 of his men know about her, but she is not at all fazed by this answer. She coldly tells him that she expected as much and asks him not to feel guilty because she did some checking on him as well. She then leaves the building with Tagu, who stops to check up on Bado, who is taking his car apart piece by piece to find if there is a bomb in there. Tagu tells him to call the bomb squad because that will be faster, but Bado thinks that will be an insult to his manliness. And on top of that, everyone will laugh at him for that. Tagu ignores him and gets inside his car, while an ambulance arrives there and the driver gets into a fight with Bado for repairing his car in front of the hospital entrance. At the same time, the atmosphere in the car is awkward and Tagu says that things would have been easier if Motoko's boyfriend was a civilian. She agrees while looking distant and lost, but then she suddenly asks him to turn left. Tagu obeys, but then Motoko tells him to turn left again because she wanted to confirm that someone is following them. She tells Tagu that the followers will have realized by now that they were spotted, so they will try to attack. She tells him to head to the nearest deserted area, which is an abandoned factory 15 minutes to the south. Motoko then asks him if he has his droid ready, and Tagu tells her that the droid is following them just far enough so that the stalkers won't notice it. He is curious about the motives of the stalkers because if they really wanted to kill Motoko, the hospital would have been a better place. She thinks that they probably want to have fun killing her, but even if they have another reason, she plans to find it out once they capture the stalkers. While Tagu is rushing towards the abandoned factory, Ishii pays a visit to an intelligence agent while wearing the invisibility cloak. The agent senses something is wrong and tries to reach for the revolver in his drawer, but it starts floating in the air before he can grasp it. The agent realizes that someone is using thermal camouflage, and Ishii shows his badge to tell him that he is a cop who scheduled an appointment earlier. The agent instantly shuts down all the windows so that no one can see them, and asks Ishii what does he want. He replies that he needs information on the terrorist named Soma, because the agent is the one who keeps tabs on his terrorist group. However, he replies that he handles everyone else except Soma, who is too confident and ambitious. The agent talks about how Soma didn't want to remain in a small gang, so he went to the Benton family, who are the biggest mafias in this part of the country. He offered to supply them with anything they wanted, but the Benton family turned him down because they already had reliable sources. The man then pulls out some documents about Soma, including his recent photograph, and Ishii takes them away and leaves as quietly as he came. Meanwhile, Motoko and Tagu reach the factory, and Tagu is hopeful that they can finish things quickly. Motoko tells him not to think like that because they have no idea how strong their enemy is. They hide inside the factory and watch the terrorists get out of their car with advanced weapons, and Motoko realizes that they are decently trained. Suddenly, a sound startles her and Tagu, who turns around to shoot anyone looking suspicious. To his shock, there is a homeless man in front of him, who just got up from his sleep. He is not the only person seeking shelter there, because the factory is full of ugly and unwashed homeless men, who think Tagu and Motoko are cops who want to kick them out. Tagu tells them to leave the building for a couple of hours, while Motoko notices that a truck just stopped in front of the factory. She tells Tagu to attack the truck with his droid, and he immediately obeys, shooting at the truck and creating a massive explosion. However, that is not enough to destroy whatever was inside the truck, and it fires back, destroying Tagu's droid. Motoko immediately asks the headquarters to send at least 4 fully loaded droids because the stakes just got higher. She tells Tagu to make his droid act like it has been rendered useless because they can't risk getting it destroyed right now. Just then, a powerful looking droid comes out of the fire, and the eye-patch Baldy at the headquarters recognizes it as a German-made tank that runs on highly advanced combat AI. Aramaki panics on hearing this, and he tells his men to contact the head of the Special Weapon Division to find if they lost any specialized tanks lately. Meanwhile, Motoko and Tagu try to sneak out of the factory because they know they can't fight against the AI-powered tank. Tagu asks her if they have any other plans besides running, and she tells him that they need to buy time till backup arrives. She thinks that the case has become bigger than Soma now because a small-time terrorist like him can't have access to such a powerful weapon. Tagu asks if a powerful organization is helping Soma, but Motoko tells him it is pointless to think about it. They reach their car while talking about it, but unfortunately, the terrorists spot them and open fire just as they get inside. The bullets shatter the windshield, and Motoko and Tagu rush out and take cover. Motoko realizes that the terrorists are using high-velocity rounds because ordinary bullets wouldn't do much damage to their bulletproof car. Just then, the German droid comes there and shoots grenades at her. Motoko avoids getting hit, but the explosion sends her rolling directly towards one of the terrorists. She quickly draws out her knife and slashes his throat before he even has time to react, but the droid is locked in after her. It keeps attacking her, but Motoko dodges every single of its attacks and then escapes through a broken wall. She lands in a pile of junk and immediately contacts Tagu, telling him that if they move from roof to roof, they can get away from the droid because it is too heavy to climb up. However, she gets no response from him at all and starts fearing the worst. Suddenly, she notices a shadow around the corner and decides to take out whoever is standing in her way, even though she has lost an arm. However, when she rushes ahead and the person around the corner comes out to face her, she freaks out because it is her boyfriend. He is confused too, but Motoko doesn't give him the chance to say anything. She throws her knife at his shoulder and runs away, leaving him utterly confused. Motoko, on the other hand, is sure that Squad 1 is behind the attack, and she immediately sends the message to Aramaki before crushing her walkie-talkie in rage. At the same time, Aramaki is meeting the head of Squad 1 because he found out that the German tank attacking Motoko belongs to his squad. Aramaki pulls a gun at him and tells him to stop going after his people immediately. The Squad 1 chief panics and orders his troops to retreat before explaining the situation to Aramaki. He says that they were conducting a secret mission to find out the real identity of the drug lord known as Anaconda, and the price for information on him was Mitoko's life. Aramaki understands everything now, and he asks Squad 1 chief if he made a deal with Soma for the information. He affirms, saying that since Anaconda is the partner of the Benton family, taking him down will make it easy to get rid of the entire family, and the only casualty on their side would be Motoko. Aramaki refuses to sacrifice Motoko and asks the Squad 1 chief about Soma's location. He replies that Soma is inside the tank and he won't come out because he doesn't trust them. Aramaki declares that Squad 1 will pay dearly for this, and he leaves to take care of the situation while ordering Baldy to keep watching the Squad 1 chief. Meanwhile, the soldiers at the factory decide to retreat after getting orders from their chief. But Motoko's boyfriend has other plans. He decides to go after Soma to protect his girlfriend, but his men tell him it is not the right idea. He doesn't care and orders one of his guys to get him a rocket launcher from the car. And just then, Tagu arrives there, bleeding profusely but still ready to fight till the last breath. The soldier tells him not to shoot because the fight is already over. Tagu doesn't understand what is going on and contacts Motoko, but she is too busy dodging the constant attacks of the smart tank. The tank soon runs out of bullets, but as Motoko tries to run away, she finds that her leg is caught under rubble. The tank grabs her head and starts crushing it, and when Motoko's boyfriend tries to attack it, he finds that the rocket launcher is not working because Soma sabotaged them. He still doesn't give up and rushes to free Motoko from the tank's grip with brute force. Then suddenly, an anti-tank rocket hits the tank, destroying it immediately, thanks to Bohr, who arrived to save the day at the last moment. Soma gets out of the tank on realizing that it might explode any moment, and Motoko's boyfriend knocks him to the ground with a single punch as soon as he shows his ugly face. Bohr then tosses a pistol to Motoko, who unloads the entire thing into Soma's head. With that, Motoko tells Bohr to get Tagu to the hospital quickly, because he is losing too much blood, while her boyfriend supports her as they walk outside. Aramaki is already waiting for them, and he tells Motoko that the chief of Squad 1 was being manipulated by Soma, who probably didn't even know anything about Anaconda. Motoko's boyfriend panics on realizing this, and says that if Soma indeed knew something, they made a huge mistake by killing him. However, Motoko tells him that when she wore her uniform earlier, it was to meet a foreign minister and celebrate his country's achievement of assassinating Anaconda. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.